Hey, I'm Chase. I build random things, and today I'm going to take my new TIG welder and weld up a welding cart. Got a pretty standard panel, AC, DC, and TIG and stick. There's a floor clamp and then a cheap foot pedal, which is what you get at this price point. With the torch, it does have an on-off switch, which is nice. You can use that high-frequency start and not have to use a pedal. So we'll start by cutting the metal. So I'm using some square tubing as well as some angle iron to make this welding cart. And then I have the two sets here, which is the bottom and the top, and there's a nice tight fitment. We will also just clean off the metal a little bit around the edge to make our welds cleaner, to have something to adhere to. Assembling everything up here using the right angle magnets and just checking for square. And let's just go ahead and tack it up and see how it starts to get put together. Forward, you just pull the trigger and weld the tacks without using the foot pedal. And notice that I am welding on the floor, which is not ideal, and I will get around to making my welding table. And it did fire right up. It worked perfectly right out of the box after I sharpened that electrode. And that is my first weld with the new welder. So let's go ahead and just weld the whole thing up. I am fixturing this up using this vise, just sitting on the floor. And once again, that trigger on the torch is really nice. And now as I set the welder inside of the tray, my measurements worked out really nice. So my next step here is I need to put together the bottom of the welding cart. So I'm just using, once again, those right angle magnets and making sure I'm setting square. And I am welding on the floor once again. I will have a welding table coming very soon, shortly after I get this set up. Now, my only other experience with a Miller-Matic, which was not a high frequency, I had to do a lift start on it. And this one is welding, I think, just as well, if not better. It does have the AC capabilities, and it's coming along very nicely. So I got these casters from Harbor Freight. So there's that zinc coating. I will knock that zinc coating off for safety purposes and to make sure that the weld will adhere. And so sticking these casters onto the bottom of the metal, I was melting the casters a little bit more, and it actually looks, looking at the video, I did not actually clean all the zinc off as well as I was hoping. That one's okay. A little bit better, and a little bit more shine to it. A little bit better. And then you got the wheels on, and then putting the wheel on. That weld looks pretty good. So we're just knocking down some of those welds now, smoothing them out. You know, as we go through, it's like this last step here is, sticking everything together on the welder itself. A whole bunch of places here to weld. So this is really good practice for me to get accustomed to using this welder. And I made a lot of welds because there's a lot of places where the metal meets themselves. So let's just set everything up and see how it works. So, moment of truth, see if this thing fits. So I also chopped some pieces off of an old garden tool and put these hooks on the side to hold some cords. This part here is, I welded these, they look like gussets, but basically it's just a place to hold the shelf because I'm going to do a wooden shelf underneath. I put some cutting fluid and the drill bit, and I'm going to put some holes inside of these gussets here so I can screw to it. So as I say, grinder makes me the welder I'm not. So I smoothed down all of those corners to make it nice and pretty looking. The next step is going to be cutting out the wood that I'm going to use as the shelves. I really like the look of a wood and metal. So I'm going to cut this using the circular saw and cut those two pieces. So one on the bottom shelf, one on the top shelf. They were not perfectly square, so I had to use the sander here to just smooth it out a little bit. And nice little fit. There's 2 pieces that are going to fit in there, and I'm going to pull out this poly shades with the polyurethane and stain in one, so I'm only going to have to do 1 coat. So we'll just go through and stain both sides. For the painting, I just taped off the areas I didn't want to paint over, which was the wheels, and I'm just using a Rust-Oleum. It's all in one, and just going to spray down the cart. One of the nice things about using that Rust-Oleum, as you're probably aware, is that it just goes on. You don't really have to use a primer. So there it is, all painted up. That nice black color, and I'm going to let it sit overnight with those stained wood pieces. I'm really happy with how this project turned out. The welder sits on there nicely. It fits perfectly in the space that I needed it. It fits the look that I wanted with the metal and the wood. As far as the welder's concerned, I'm super happy with it. Thanks for building with me today. If you liked what you see, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time.